chill music over here. Alright, looks like I'm live. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna give everybody a heads up. Of course, it is the day after the 4th of July. Hi, Gina. Hi. It's the day after the 4th of July, and I was wondering if fireworks are going to go off this evening, and chances are they probably will. I was going to set up my microphone. I have my amp over there, but I think I'll be okay volume-wise, but I do have my door open, so... Let me know if you can still see me, because what happened the last time happened again, because now it's saying having trouble playing this video. I may have to... Alright. It looks like I'm here, even though, again, I don't see myself on the screen. I'm just going to keep going. Maybe if I try something else. It's saying, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. But it looks as though there are people communicating in the chat, so okay. Hi, okay. I'll just keep going, because, you know, I don't necessarily need to see myself, but it would be nice. Oh, goodness. All right. So I put in the header. Okay, lovely. Okay. Yeah, maybe we need to report Mr. Facebook there. And the last time happened again, because now it's saying having trouble. There are people communicating in the chat. So okay. All right. I'm gonna use my phone and turn the volume down, just so I can see myself. All right. So yes, so I put in the description today a YouTube video that I found yesterday. I'm actually going to play a portion of it for us to listen to and talk about it. It is, let me give you some heads up on what it is about. So it is an interview with Dolly Parton. Barbara Walters is also is the one interviewing her. So I want you to listen, and like I said, you can always go back and watch the interview later. The whole entire thing is about 15 minutes or so, and you can watch the other part or the complete part of the interview. But what I wanted to point out was one particular thing. So again, I anticipated camera going out on me. Again, luckily I have several pieces of multimedia over here. Okay, so I'm going to play this. I want you to listen to what she's saying.
I always just say that I weigh 120.
You don't have to look like this. You're very beautiful. You don't have to wear the blonde wigs. You don't have to wear the extreme clothes, right?
No, it's certainly a choice. I don't like to be like everybody else. I've often made the statement that I would never stoop so low as to be fashionable. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. So I just decided that I would do something that would at least get the attention. Once I got past the shock of the ridiculous way I looked and all that, then they would see there was a parts of me to be appreciated. I'm very real where it counts, and that's inside, and as far as my outlook on life and the way I care about people and the way I care about myself and the things that I care about. But I just chose to do this, and it's show business is a money-making joke, and I just always like telling jokes.
But do you ever feel that you're a joke, that people make fun of you?
Oh, I know they make fun of me. But actually, all these years, the people, has thought the joke was on me, but it's actually been on the public. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I can change it at any time. Or I make more jokes about myself than anybody. Because I enjoy it. I know, like I say, I am sure of myself as a person. I'm sure of my talent. And to me, and I'm sure of my love and for life and that sort of thing. I'm very content. I like the kind of person that I am. So I can afford to piddle around and diddle around with makeups and clothes and stuff because I am secure with myself.
When you talk to me, and we've talked a little bit today, do you feel?
Okay, so I'm pause it right there. That's what I wanted to focus a little bit on tonight. What she said. Dolly is an icon, and she didn't get there easily at all. If you know her history, I don't want to say struggle, but she's come up against a lot of obstacles. Even in interviews, she has been, I hate saying the word mistreated, but been kind of condescended to, treated in a certain way that, yeah, as she's saying, they're making it seem like she is a joke. And her response is pretty much what I would like a lot of creative people to develop, is that knowing who you are, you don't have to fall for whatever the agenda of whoever the media person or the interview person, what they're trying to get out of you. I tend to, I'm trying to adjust my visual camera, sorry. I think it is important to make sure that we as creative people know exactly how we want to present to the world. Otherwise, people will write a narrative about you that you may or may not like. Even if, I'll just say this, as much as we might prepare for that kind of thing to happen, it might happen anyway. And you also have to have that resilience to be able to push back against whatever kind of narrative a person tries to place upon you that is not what you want. Okay? So it's really important. The last session that we had, I strongly suggest that people journal. Again, I strongly suggest you journal. Journal about how you want the world to see you as a creative person, what you want to get out of this exchange with people. And from there, we can talk about, what we're going to talk about. But once you decide how you want the world to see you as a creative, you're going to have to write it down and write it out. And even though, yes, you are yourself, you'd be surprised how often you're going to get those people buzzing in your ear telling you what they think that you should be or what you sound like somebody else because you look a certain way. They just assume you sound like something. You really have to reinforce what it is that you're looking for as an artist presenting to the world. Okay? So it is important. And I know, again, that journaling aspect might be difficult at first for some of us, but again, it's going to be helpful in the long run. And it is not something I've said this last time, but it's not something you have to share with other people. Like I said, I got journals. Okay? You don't have to share this with anyone, but it is a good way for you to go back and look at what you are saying about yourself and how that might come across to other people. So we are our own worst critic. So with that, yes, you want to give yourself some grace, but you also want to just be very clear as possible. Now, this is interactive. So far I see maybe 2 people watching right now, which is fine. Um, does anyone want to type in, I guess, well, before I move on to the next thing, controlling the narrative. So, yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go with that, because sometimes, yeah, the people that speak about you and what you do might not have your best interests, that they are looking to move forward whatever they're doing, their thing. Um, One thing that I can suggest that you do when you create a thing, whatever it is, you also write yourself a one sheet. This is something that musicians or people who write music, they do it. I think authors also do it, but authors, I take cue from them because they are amazing at being able to present themselves, because their craft is writing. So they know how to be as clear and consistent as possible when they are being interviewed. So that's why it's important to write it down, live it, love it. If there's something about, even in your journaling aspect, that you're like unsure of, yeah, you can handle that, talking about that in other ways. But let's say, I don't know, I'm just gonna make up something really quick. All right, so I'm a break dancer, Betty Sue break dancer. So one thing that is my pet peeve, by the way, is when people write in the media about female whatever, like that's a thing. Um, Women have been creating just as long as men, and the way that they place that female in front of something else just makes it seem like women haven't been doing anything, and I take like, frustration with that. So if I was Betty Sue breakdancer, and if I created a, like, let's see, a dance routine or something, and I put it up on Instagram or something like that, I would first make sure I wrote out what inspired me, what motivated me to write, do the thing, put it there in the description, talk about it around it, meaning that don't let that be the only post about the work. Come back and talk about the work. Pretend like somebody's interviewing you, and you control the narrative then. This is one awesome thing when it comes to social media now. We literally can interview ourselves and make sure that what we want said is being said. And and I'm sure some of us know this already, but there's some secrets out there when it comes to journalists. And I guess there's a difference between journalism and writing. I don't know. There's some people who are not really good interviewers. I'm just going to be honest. And what I mean by that, they don't do their homework, and they ask those same basic questions. And believe it or not, those are the people you can kind of flip it around and make it what you want it to be, because they don't do their homework. If they ask, like, well, tell me about yourself, and there you go, there's your one sheet. You tell them what you wrote for your one sheet. If they ask questions about, well, what is it like being a blah, 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 blah in the world of blah, blah, blah. I mean, those kinds of questions, I don't know. Again, I have big feelings about those kind of questions. Again, I talk about Betty Sue breakdancer. What is it like, Betty Sue breakdancer, to be in the world of breakdancing as a woman? The same as a man. I don't know. I'm a little evil, y'all, but those kind of questions really bug me. They really do. And you can also, yeah, you write your own narrative when it comes to that. That shows at least um, some interviewers don't do that homework. But then there's other interviewers that I find frustrating that they put they've already kind of just like decided what you are, and they ask you a question based on what they've decided that you are. They have not asked an open-ended question. Most people in real life do that too, by the way. When they ask a guided question, like they are creating a narrative for you and they're forcing you to answer it based on their narrative of you. And I don't think that's very fair. That does take a little talent to get out of those kinds of questions. What you can do in response to that, you can say, why do you think that? That's open. So if they're asking you a question, again, Betty Sue breakdancer, what made you want to take breakdancing as a woman? You can respond, why do you think that? There's plenty of breakdancers out there, men and women. What makes me different in that? You know? So you can split open that narrative with questions more volleying back to them. I'll just say that. So that's just a way of, some Jedi-ness. Like take that question that you find that's slightly irritable to you, and you ask them, why did you ask that? Why do you ask? And see what they say, because maybe they didn't even actually think about why they asked. It's not a very meaningful question, But yeah, so as much as you can with your own social media, this is the beautiful thing about what we are now. We can control our narrative as much as possible. And if we are looking for media to break out with, say for example, if we wrote a book. You wrote a book about, I don't know, marshmallows. See, we wrote a book about marshmallows. You're gonna have to do a book tour, right? You're gonna have to do a lot of interviews. So you are gonna be looking for, certain audiences. You want to seek out media that plays to your strengths. You probably, if you had the power, this is where it gets interesting. I'm going to give you another example, more, I guess, Dolly, she's timeless, but I'm going to give you a more modern example. If you can control who interviews you and controls your image. So first of all, if they don't have like photographer or something like that, you send them your pictures. You have your own media and you send it to them, and there's that. But if in this example, SZA, the hip hop singer rapper woman, SZA, SZA, she is an African American woman who she is starting to get more mainstream attention, and she has a request for her interviewers and her photographers to look like her, to be African American or brown skinned, a person of color. And she has recently, I think as of a week or so ago, refused a major outlet an interview because they claimed they could not find a black photographer to photograph her. And so she refused. And again, She's controlling the narrative. It's not even about being evil. Hi, Jeff. In that, I can totally understand where she's coming from with that, because people with brown skin, we have, different things that we need to make sure that we look good. And I think that's exactly why she's doing that. So not every light looks good on everybody. And if you just throw a light on, and throw whatever kind of makeup on people, that it doesn't work. So she's protecting her image, and she is at a level too where she doesn't feel like she has to do that interview with that particular magazine or outlet or whomever, to refuse it. And people who are growing and feeling like, I don't know, I feel people are starting to become more brave and to speak up more about what they want and what they need. Again, social media, Twitter is powerful, Instagram powerful. I hear Twitch is doing well. Got YouTube. You can do it yourself. What ends up happening when it comes to writing, yeah, like sometimes you really just have to. Yes, Sylvia. Sometimes you really just be like, I'm not, no. And recently, as I go back and thinking about other things as Nerd Queen, and I've opened for other people musically who've toured, I go back and I think about it, and it's usually a person of color, and usually I think they've asked for someone. Hi, Andy. They've asked for an opener that is a person of color, and just because it's something that would make them more comfortable and inclusive, and just say let's just even say as a woman, there are things that we want or need as an artist to be comfortable. We've got a platform. Hi, Andy. We have a platform. Once we now are creatives, we have a platform, so we can design that the way that we want and need it to be. We don't have to let somebody else tell our story in that way and hack it up. The one piece of media that sometimes still gets me is print media, because they will alter your words. Just be careful. I'll just say that, y'all. They will alter your words. So my advice to anyone out there doing print media interviews, you want to be as direct as possible. Okay? You just want to be noun, verb, and just really, because there's so much editing. It won't even be the reporter's problem. Sometimes it's the editor. They'll do it. And then you're like, what? So be careful. I'll just say that. If you are being video, internet, yes, they will alter. You said alert, alter what you're saying. So yeah, you got to be as direct as possible. If you did a breakdancing video, you can say, I, Betty Sue breakdancer, made this breakdancing video to celebrate my grandmother and the time that she got the right to vote for the first time. So that way they can't just change it around, but yeah, that's the one thing that I have noticed over the years. Sorry, print media out there, if y'all do it, you do it. But yeah, just be careful with that. And video or television or radio, let's see, Andy and Sylvia, you mentioned the vocal, what do we call them, tics? You just slow down. Don't speak until you have something to say. There are lots of people you can watch videos. I'll just say this as a homework assignment. If you have a favorite author or favorite singer, a favorite dancer, a favorite actor, don't watch those cheesy little, I don't know, the daytime talk shows and the nighttime talk show interviews. Those aren't really, my opinion, that's my other pet peeve thing. In that, watch those interviews that are an hour long. Sometimes, Barbara Walters, she got some bad rap with that, but she did interview well. Sometimes she asked the hard questions. You want to watch those interviews, and you want to watch how, especially actors, they've got it. They know how to present themselves. Where you speak when you need to speak. They can, if it's a video, they do a cutaway there. It's fine. Take a breath. Drink some water. Oh wait, that's some juice. You don't. It's not a rush. Like if they invited you there, they kick back and relax, and let it unfold. Okay, so that's my advice on that. I think it is natural. There are people who, if you watch, guess who I would also recommend you watch. It's not a bad thing. Barack Obama. When he interviews, he does the ums and things like that all the time. All the time. Because he's thinking. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you also don't want to come off just nervous. And this is where, again, some helpful tools will come in. Yeah, take a deep breath. Before responding, take that breath. Know where you want to go with it. And I'll just say this. If this is kind of funny. Back to those interviewers who they had that agenda with you and they want to control the narrative and call you something that that's not what you're doing. Yeah, you take that deep breath. You ask them why are you wondering about that, or why are you asking that? You wait for their response, because it should be a conversation. I would like to think there's those interviewers who don't do conversation, and that's awkward too. Sometimes they just rapid fire questions at you. And that's something that they have to learn as an interviewer. So the notes that I did also write down to remember. Hi, Renee. Move with purpose. Think about, most of us have been on job interviews. An interview for whatever art you created, that is your job interview also. And that's why I'm saying go back and do that research. Go back and figure out like who these people are who are asking you for the interview. Like, what do they do? Who are their audience? Like, why are you bringing me on? Because you don't want to be sabotaged, basically. I'm trying to think of somebody who tried to sabotage. Yeah, that's why I'm saying those cheesy morning shows, I really don't like them. And I really don't like, I don't want to name any names, but there is one particular talk show host, nighttime talk show host, that he does more talking than the person that he's supposed to be interviewing. And it's all about him. And it's quite annoying. So, yeah, there's that. They're out there. So, yeah, know who you're going to see, or who these people are, okay? I have things like, if you're going, oh, that little tape broke. So, I subscribe to a couple of magazines, and this was one, Poets and Writers, so then I look at their articles and things like that. You might, do your research. You can reach out to those people. So again, if you're creating something, you go find those outlets. Again, this is back to what I was about to talk about after we, talk about that physical interview part. So you move with purpose. When you're sitting and you're on film, or even if it's a telephone interview, do it in a relaxed state. Your voice will sound more relaxed. Have a sit down. Wear a nice comfy outfit or something. Have your favorite drink with you. Hopefully it's not alcoholic, because you also want to be, you want to be focused. Even if you are sitting with that person, fear. I'm going to talk about that fear, what fear is. When you're sitting with that person, it would be nice to have a chit chat before the actual interview, because part of it is, everything's happening so fast, and it's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. It's like, ask for a pre-interview if you can. Ask them even before, say, even if it's print, like, what kind of questions are you going to ask? Ask them. Like, if they came to you, you have every right to ask them. Just like a job. When you interview for a job, you have every right to ask them. Like, well, what would I be doing at this job? And do the people like this job? And how many, ask them. I think sometimes we do get so caught up in the whole idea of being, I don't want to say famous, but being well known. We want to, maybe deep down, we want to be liked. And we turn into this accommodating, people pleasing, when you really don't have to. Be yourself, And you also, when you are, hopefully if you got the pre-interview or the set of questions, hopefully, you can feel more prepared and relaxed. Okay? And when if you are sitting with that person, and Zoom, this works with Zoom too, even right now, I'm sitting here in the perfect interview position. I'm sitting on my couch, but I am leaning forward, first of all, as in, I see you. I am having a conversation with you. I'm looking directly at the camera. I speak with my hands anyway. I don't know if people knew that or not. When I teach, oh my gosh, it's insane. I'm all over the place. But if you be yourself as much as possible, and there's something to be said with making eye contact with that person that you are being interviewed with, hopefully. Have those open poses. Open, like, closed poses mean like, your body's tight. Once you start doing that, you're actually clenching your muscles, and that's not good for your nervous system. And then we're going to talk about that in a second. Yeah, so once you start clenching your body, just like if you're about to perform, you're clenching, you're getting tight. Your body is like, uh-oh, something's about to happen. Something scary is about to happen. You're signaling your body to start getting panicked and anxious. Don't do that. I know that's easier said than done, but it takes practice. But yeah, it takes practice. And again, we have cameras. We have all this stuff in our pockets and stuff. You can practice by yourself doing this work. And I challenge, one of the exercises that you do is you pretend like you're interviewing yourself, and you record yourself doing a short interview looking in the camera. If you have Zoom, if you're in the meeting by yourself, you can look at yourself. Practice looking in your own eyes. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just do it in the mirror. Actors do it all the time. Actors and opera singers, musical theater people, they do it all the time. They look at their own eyes in the mirror and they do their monologues. That's their practice. It's not easy, and it helps though, but it helps. So those are some little tips. So yeah, make sure you're leaning in. You're having a conversation. If you want, it's not just like, oh no, I can't believe I'm here. It's like you wanted to be here. You asked to be here. They asked you to be here. You didn't have to say yes. Hopefully, make it fun for you, for yourself. Now, other things that you can do to come across as more confident when you are doing a recorded interview that's not print. Yes, pace yourself when you're speaking. Pace yourself. And I'm not a fan of upspeak, what is called upspeak. It is when everything that you are saying, it sounds like a question. That does not come across as confident, and I'm just going to be honest with that. Sadly, a lot of people are doing it more. I just did it. Sadly, a lot of people are doing it more. But try not to, because it comes across as not sure of what you're saying. You also might want to practice speaking in a lower range. Like, I have a wide range. I have a range that I speak with children with, that's high and light and bubbly and flirty. They love it. Then there's the voice that I have if I'm doing a teacher conference. It's like, you get your little glasses out and you get your little pencil and pen and your little thing. You're like, well, Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith, your child, you come with a little bit more lower range from the belly as a singer, from the belly. And you project a little more. It does help you exude more confidence and maybe also calm you a little bit. So once you start, going too fast, getting flighty, you're like, oh, I can't breathe. So you want to practice that. So again, that's something you can easily practice with a camera. Record yourself. I usually, if I had my voice students, I would tell them to record it. You don't have to video it, but you can video it. It would be helpful also, because I sometimes still work on doing that, being able to come across well on the camera, So you take your time and you do that. Don't you? And of course we are our own worst critics, as I had said before. Once you notice those things, you can fix them. Okay? Once you notice them, you fix them, and you give yourself some grace, and you just work at it. Okay? You might now hear the fireworks going on. Let's see. Yeah, you set up your little, like right here. This is my living room teaching session area. It's comfy, cozy. I could do it in my other room. It's not quite ready for interactions with others, but this is a little more calming. Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't like cameras. Even before cameras became everything, there are people who don't smile. I don't want to just put too many gender applications on that, but yeah, there's a lot of people who don't smile, but that if you're a performer in some form or fashion, you're going to have to get used to it a little bit. Or at least have that look, and you teach your face to do that look. So you that's part of the game. You don't want to look in a way that you don't want to look. I'll just say that. Be in control of that, how that works for yourself. There is another example of a person who Only because I think at this point they've become so big and famous that people are okay with why. uh, Beyonce, okay, she does not give interviews. Okay, I don't think people have noticed that after, I don't know, like she did some movie work, and it is what it is. But she did some movie work, and I think she did some interviews. But after that, I don't think she's done any interviews about her work, and she doesn't have to. She doesn't want to. She just do her work. That's her work. I'm sure she has a one sheet out there, and she presents it to the public, and it is what it is. You know. Someone else who I I think it's funny, somebody who is really good at pushing back at interviewers. He has passed away now, but Bill Withers. He always came off as kind of angry, and even with really good interviewers, he would kind of push back with them and say, "Well, didn't you read the whatever before we got here? Why are you asking this kind of question?" So he was really good at doing that. Yeah. So I think in the end, you have to set the standard for yourself before anyone comes to approach you. And I think one of the big takeaways for us as creatives now, interview yourself before anybody else interviews you. And you put it out into the world before anybody else does. If they want follow-up questions, that's fine. Okay? We are in control now. Literally in control now. Let me see. I'm looking at comments. Yeah, you gotta just practice. I mean, look, I have a lazy eye. I don't know if anybody's noticed that or not, but I have a lazy eye. I can control it. I don't really care that I have a lazy eye. Sometimes kids ask me, like, why does your eye do that? I was like, well, because the muscle in it I can go in the opposite direction. It helps me see things from on this side, and I'm okay with that. Some people get embarrassed. Sometimes the things that you think people, and that's another thing, embrace those things that make you unique. Those things, we live now, again, back to the Instagram world and this world of airbrushed everything. Like, everybody's trying to present like they're perfect. And that's not, if you are a creative person, you're looking to make a connection with others. And even when people try to put us on a pedestal, they also want to know that you're just like them. And you want to remind them, I'm just like you. Like, again, if you watch that interview with Dolly, she talks very candidly about her life, her early life, and how people made fun of her, and she's like, I don't care, she is secure in how she knows who she is and what she wants to show the public, but at the same time, she knows that she's just like everybody else. And she said it. It's a big joke, y'all. It kind of is. It makes me sad when, yes, there's that monetary element where people make people restrict their eating and take these pills. Like, I'm thinking of Judy Garland now, of all people. So, how they have to keep up an image to keep themselves relevant, Oh, okay. So, question: what advice would you give about getting asked a question that you are not prepared for or is deeply personal? I would just hand it back to them and say, well, why do you ask? And see what they say on that response. Because there are those reporters. Like I said, I'm not a fan of certain kinds of reporting that gotcha reporting, that they think they're trying to break some news or something like that. Especially, we're not like politicians. We're creative people. Like, unless you committed a crime and they're interviewing because of that, then yeah. But if you're presenting something and it's a question, say like, again, I'll come at it at a different angle. Say like you're a metal worker, you're a metal artist, like metal as in the material, like copper and steel, like you make sculptures, but you are a woman and you weld. And I'm sure somebody will ask that question. It's gonna happen because we still live in that society. It's like, well, what is it like being a woman as a metal artist? And then if you're being asked that question, it's like, well, I'm sure it's the same way as it is being a man. Now, you might want to talk about challenges and things you've faced, people having bias and prejudice towards you as a woman. But if it doesn't pertain to your agenda, what you came there for, then I would just hand it back to them. It's like, that's not really, you ask everybody that kind of question, meaning that they're not supposed to be doing this kind of work. You're implying that what I'm doing is not something I'm not supposed to be doing. And as I said earlier, women, people with different ability, people who are not white, we have every right to do whatever we want to do. And when people start asking those kinds of questions, trying to other you, sometimes people will ask, there are people who, you're going to ask, let's say somebody like Marlee Matlin, she's deaf. And of course they've been asking her for years, those kinds of questions about her and her deafness, and she answers because maybe that is a platform for her, and that's okay, but if she doesn't want to talk about it, she can say, well, why do you ask? There are other people who are deaf in one ear. Halle Berry, she's deaf in one ear, and nobody asks her what's that about, because she doesn't make it a big deal. Or maybe also, that's also in the writing, maybe that's also something that she tells people, look, don't ask that question. You can come prepared also and tell them, don't be asking me these questions. I won't do the interview. It's okay to say no, because now like I said, we live in a world where we have our own platforms. We got our Instagrams, we got our Snapchats and whatever, I'm acting like an old lady now, but all of our things, we got our things. We don't necessarily need to stand in front of an interviewer being grilled if we're just presenting some new work. Look what I made. It's like, what is it like being a woman? I was like, I don't know. Like, okay, so I'm just sitting here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're almost 10 minutes down. Okay, so I want to make sure I covered everything that I wanted to talk about, unless there are any other questions. So set goals for yourselves, friends. Like, write it down. Goals you can actually achieve for yourself. Things like, I got to finish these 3 chapters. I got to finish, these 3 pieces of art in the next 3 months. And then we do what is called reverse engineer. Like, some of us, we've been doing this work for a while, so we kind of already know the steps. But if you're new at doing that, you kind of have to go in reverse. Like, well, okay, that means I got to set some time to get this done, set the mini goals, to get to the big goal. You know, you can practice creativity. That might be the next session. You know, I think I touched on it maybe a little. I don't know, with journaling. Back to the journaling. You want to know yourself, and again, I strongly suggest, it is in the link. Watch the Dolly Parton interview. After what I was pointing out earlier in this session was 7 minutes into the video, but please watch the whole thing. You know, like I said, there's so many good tidbits you can get out of that, where she is totally in control of her image and how she presents herself. Even though people try to bring her down, she's still here, and she's still very relevant. You know, if you want to make how you look a part of that image, then yeah. If you don't, then don't. Like I said, you can set those parameters to people. You know, don't be afraid to try it out. All they can do is say no, right? They're asking you questions, you can ask them. All right, so if you are looking, I hope you're doing that homework. If you're journaling out there, I hope you are. Please, give me a thumbs up on that. I hope you're journaling about your feelings. What makes you, I want to ask you though, what makes you do what you do? Your craft. That might be your purpose, your mission statement. That might be a part of, if you get interviewed, what you talk about. What drives you to create? What drives you to create? And I hope that's what you're journaling about, if you do. Before we go, we didn't do any breathing. Gotta breathe. All right, so about the nervousness, like Renee mentioned nervousness. All right, so our bodies, so public speaking is one of those major fears. It is the major fear that people have. And I sent a message to myself a week ago, what nervousness is. Like our adrenaline, our body, we go through fight, flight, or freeze when some stimulus happens and you're like, whoa, what's happening? Public speaking is one of those things, okay? But what that is rising our adrenaline up, and it's making, our vitals react, heartbeat, breathing, sweating. We end up with that nervous energy. What if you're not afraid? That's just like your energy is up and you're woohoo, out there. But this is what I wrote to myself. So nervousness is excess energy in the body with a touch of fear and negative self-talk. That's what the fear is. Yes, we're going to have some anxious energy before we do whatever we do. But then the fear comes when we start telling ourselves, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to look stupid. They're going to laugh at me. Nobody's going to like it. You got to get past that. The negative self-talk, yes, we all do that. We all judge ourselves, and we all want to be better. Like, let me turn my camera. I hope you see that. It says set goals and understand the process. But yeah, please breathe through all of it. I'm turning it back. Hopefully it works. Yes, we want to get better at what we do, but we don't want to cripple ourselves to not function at all when it's time to function. Okay? You talk it out, you walk it out, you visualize it out from the last session. Your adrenaline is going, and you have added that negative self-talk into your body with that energy. And so then it only makes it more exaggerated. You're going to have nervous energy whether you are prepared or not. Even when I had not been nervous about something, I was super excited. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get out there. We're going to play. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And you're excited. You still end up having this energy, and that's good because you need it. Because I recall, even after performing, sometimes I still end up having all this nervous energy, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like so it is. It's your adrenaline is in there, and you added in that negative self talk, and you don't want to do that at that time. Okay, definitely. Okay, and you have these expectations. So I'm reading the rest of this, and you set these expectations for yourself. Sometimes things happen in live performances that you cannot control, and you have to just be okay with that. If anything, you just be prepared for what to do when things mess up. And I'm going to say that a lot because, life isn't perfect. Yeah, we see these, people on the television and on the internets and the videos and stuff. They, they do all these takes and things like that, or they make it seem like it's so easy and so perfect, but they put a lot of work behind it. The work that you don't see is just like an iceberg. When you see a person in front of a camera, or you hear them in their podcast or whatever they're doing, you only hear or see the end result of it all. You haven't noticed the work behind it. So before we go, I also want you to practice that box breathing, y'all. 4 counts, 4, 4, 4. Okay? You take 4 breaths in, 1 breath in on a 4 count. You hold it for a 4 count. You release it on a 4 count. And at the bottom, 4 count. So let's do this. Ready? So again, you do that. Make that a daily practice. After you journal, hopefully. Before you journal. Telling you, it does wonders. Thanks for watching, and thanks for those wonderful questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to message me for the next session. It's in 2 weeks. Not next Monday, but the Monday after next. Okay? But yeah, keep creating and be in control of your image. Okay? All right, I'm going to end this live. Bye.